Good afternoon. I'll now call the Phoenix City Council meeting to order. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilman Waring. Vice Mayor O'Brien.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. Thank you for joining us. We have Spanish interpretation here and available. Mario, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mario Barajas. I'm going to be working together with Elsie Duarte as far as the Spanish interpretation, as was mentioned previously. Now, I'll take a moment to introduce ourselves to our Spanish-speaking audience. Muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Mario Barajas y voy a estar trabajando junto con Elsie Duarte. Vamos a estar sirviendo como intérpretes a los de habla hispana. Primeramente, queremos informarles de que ya no es como de costumbre, si acaso van a dar un comentario público, no se requiere que hagan pausas. Pueden decir todo su comentario público y si acaso van a estar dando un comentario y de esa manera se les podrá proveer la interpretación. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And we want to welcome Councilwoman-elect Ana Hernandez. The next time we meet, the elect will be removed and it'll be officially Councilwoman on Monday, which means it is a milestone meeting as well for Councilman Galindo Elvira, and I think several of us will have comments on that. We'll begin with council information and follow-up requests. Who would like to go first? Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take a moment to say, Carlos, you have been a pleasure to work with. It's an honor knowing you. You are such a kind, generous person. I'm really going to miss you on council. You have done a lot for District 7, but not only 7, you really cared about the rest of the city, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you would come to me, you reach out, you had questions, and I would do the same with you. You really reflect what it's about being a council person, and I know in your next endeavors will be just as wonderful because you're just a wonderful person. So a pleasure working with you.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
I also would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Councilman Carlos Galindo Elvira. You have been on council for a little over a year, and your presence and contribution truly make a difference, and they go a long way in building trust and collaboration on this dais and throughout our community. It has been my pleasure to serve alongside you, particularly when we've worked together on our shared villages of South Mountain and Levine. I truly appreciate not only your partnership, but your friendship. You've been a consistent champion and a true advocate for our communities. You are a gentleman in every sense of the word. As the council member District number 8, I was used to always going last, but you have also made sure many times that I get to speak before you because you're a gentleman. So I wanted to say thank you for that. I hope our paths continue to cross in the future. Your collaborative spirit has made working with you very easy and effective. You've always been willing to step up, lend support, and help wherever. I will cherish the memories we've had from our joint Levine Quarterly to our District 7 and District 8 holiday party, which was a blast. And I just look forward to these moments reflect your commitment to unity in our community. And I just wanted to publicly thank you for the honor to serve with you in many capacities.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you. Just following what everyone else has saying, it's been an honor to serve with you on the council here now for a little bit over a year, for us to be able to sit next to each other during the meetings and being able to talk about, sometimes help you with some of the issues that are happening and vice versa. I think our constituents that definitely use El Oso Park are going to be very grateful for the chilled water fountain that they're going to get there thanks to you. So thank you for all of your leadership and everything that you compacted in 1 year, right? I think you were like the Energizer bunny that just kept going and going and going and going. I was like, calm down. It's like, no, Betty, let's go, let's go. So I appreciate that. And just also how you elevated women through all of this and all the different events that we were a part of, and just, how great you were to work with and how you always gave all of us our place in terms of all the things that we've done here on the council, and how great you've been on all the different issues that we've been able to work on, and some fun stuff, some not fun stuff. But I think it's part of the job. I think the only thing I want to appreciate is that now I'm going to be number one when it comes to voting. But other than that, I think that, definitely enjoyed working with you and enjoyed getting to know you as well. So we're all going to miss you.
Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I'm not going to lie, cherish would be way too much. But Carlos, I've enjoyed working with you. I appreciate the fact that even though you and I don't always agree, you're always positive, you're always upbeat, you always have energy. So all the things that I probably don't have myself. But I appreciate very much that. I sometimes sort of feed off that. So we've had our rounds and rounds, and that's completely fine. But I do enjoy your company. You're kind of a hoot, so I appreciate that. I'll just tell you, you're always positive, and I think there's definitely a place in these intemperate times for that, and it's appreciated by me. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I also would like to say thank you for all that you did while you were on the council. While it was a short period of time, you put a lot into that short period of time. You did not waste 1 second of your time on city council and did much to elevate not only your district, but the entire district. Or the entire city, I apologize. Thank you for your professionalism, your kindness. You always had a smile, and my mom might have even said some rose-colored glasses, but thank you for all of that.
Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo what everybody has said, Carlos, but the one thing that we had in common, not that our council districts butted up to each other or anything like that, but our offices did, which I was happy, obviously very happy when you were appointed to the position and then voted into the position. But what I really enjoyed most about you is that you had as much fun in your office as I think we had in ours, because you can constantly hear us we could hear each other through our walls and such. But you have been a gentleman. I've appreciated your thoughtfulness and how you approached this position, knowing that you were in it for a temporary amount of time, that it speaks volumes of your character and who you are. So it was my pleasure having been your neighbor for the last year, but it's truly a pleasure having the opportunity to have worked with you on the council. So thank you very much and good luck.
I wanted to acknowledge that even though you've been here just over a year, you seem to have gotten several years of accomplishments into 1 year. It's been fabulous to serve with someone who's such a stellar example of public service, someone who's also served as a mayor in your case of Hayden, and so good to have two mayors on one city council. And you're certainly an example of how public service can make a lasting impact. There are many areas where you've made an impact, but I'll just highlight two in particular. First, making sure there's more shelter available for those who need it most, those experiencing homelessness. You've worked with neighborhood leaders to make sure that as we build new facilities, we make sure that they help neighborhoods and really listen to their concerns. And then second, you've been such a great leader to make sure our most vulnerable have access to heat respite during our summer months. You came in while it was getting quite hot and hit the ground running on that particular issue. We are the only city in the state to offer 24/7 heat relief centers. And you've been a really important leader in making sure that happens and helping bring now not just one, but 2 locations to the district. So I'm really going to miss working with you in this capacity and so many more. And thank you so much for your service. And don't be a stranger. Should we now go to PowerPoint presentations, if that works? The councilman's going to be speaking last today, and we'll have multiple exciting presentations. Should we go back to District 8? Is that right? Or would you want to District 4? You want to go next? Wherever you want. District 8. And then we'll next District 4.
Thank you, Mayor. There's been a few events since our last policy meeting, but I wanted to highlight quite a few. Next slide, please. I was honored to attend the 74th Latino Leaders Luncheon last week, celebrating the impactful Latino leadership across the country and recognize the honorees for their outstanding contribution. It was also my pleasure to attend the 16th annual Fresh Brunch hosted by 1 in 10, celebrating and uplifting the LGBT plus youth in our community. The energy in the room was filled with love, resilience, and hope for the future. Events like this remind us how important it is to create safe, affirming spaces for every young person. We also unveiled Pastor C.R. McDuffie Way at 13th Avenue and Buckeye Road, honoring a true community pillar, Pastor McDuffie's legacy of service, feeding the hungry, uplifting youth, and strengthening our economy, continues to inspire. His leadership was not only spoken, but lived. Thank you to St. John Institutional Baptist Church, the McDuffie, and our city team for making this tribute possible. Next slide. I also celebrated the reopening of Perry Park, and what a beautiful example of what community collaboration can achieve. From dancing and games to meaningful connections, it was a day filled with joy and pride. Thank you to every resident, partner, and city staff member who made this moment possible. Next slide. Last week, we also did our coffee chat at the Cesar Chavez Community Center, which I think was a great success. Residents from Levine came to share their thoughts, raise concerns, and talk through ideas to make District 8 even better. These conversations help shape real solutions that affect our community's needs. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I also hosted the District 8 Health and Welfare at the South Phoenix Youth Center, bringing vital services directly to our residents. Attendees receive free health screening, financial resources, and wellness tools to support their daily lives. Events like this ensure our community is healthy, informed, and empowered. We are grateful to all of our partners who helped make this event a success. Next slide. I also attended the citywide and the District 8 budget hearings to hear from our community on what they want to see included in our upcoming budget. April is also Fair Housing Month, and I am grateful for the opportunity to join in the reaffirmation of the city's support of the Fair Housing Act and its commitment to reducing barriers in housing for all residents. Later that day, I was able to merge two of my passions at the ASU pre-law banquet. One, encouraging the next generation of legal professionals, and two, explaining my passion for and the need for equal access to legal counsel when facing an eviction. Last week, I also attended the Maricopa County NAACP Dinner and Community Awards, where our own city manager, Jeff Barton, was honored with the Trailblazer Award. I won't embarrass him with a photo, but I will again convey my congratulations to him. Congratulations, Jeff. Next slide. My office has two upcoming events that I would like to highlight. Join us on Wednesday, April 17th for an important conversation about the redevelopment of city-owned property at 24th Street and Broadway Road. This is a chance for residents to give feedback, ask questions, and help shape the future of this vital corner of our community. The meeting will take place at the Broadway Heritage Neighborhood Resource Center at 6 p.m. Your voice matters. Come and be a part of the process. Also, mark your calendars. The District 8 Community Cookout is happening on Saturday, May 3rd from 12 to 4 p.m. at Hermosa Park. Join us for an afternoon of delicious food, music, games, and community connection. It's a great opportunity to relax, meet your neighbor, and celebrate everything that makes District 8 special. We can't wait to see you there. Next slide. As always, if you need help with city services or notice an issue in your neighborhood, don't hesitate to reach out to my office. That is all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go next to Councilwoman Pastor in District 4.
Thank you. I'll just get started. I'll wait for the slides. We had an incredible turnout for our Cesar Chavez Day cleanup on the west side. Over 60 students from Brophy, Central, Carl Hayden, North, and Cesar Chavez High School joined us. Volunteers from APS, Amazon, and the Morris K. Udall community as well. Thank you, Rosie and Greg and Melissa from the Neighborhood Services who provided everything that was needed. And thank you to the principal, Gary Glay, from the Udall School, who allowed us to use that property on their day off. I really appreciate that. And thank you for everybody who took the day off to be with me. Next slide. We are committed to ending the HIV/AIDS epidemic by 2030. As a co-chair of Fast Track Cities, I'm so proud of the progress we've made. We are focusing on testing, prevention treatment, and zero stigma. And that's what this mural represents. The progress we've made, the work we've continued to do, and those who fought with us. And I'd like to thank the mayor for thinking of this idea and pushing it forward. And I also like to thank my co-chair, Councilwoman Stark. Yesterday, we celebrated the grand opening of Osborne Point. Osborne Point is designed to serve individuals who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, a victim of or are fleeing domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking, requires supportive services to prevent homelessness, and are a veteran who meets one of the criteria listed. We have added 48 new units within District 4. Next slide. Another fresh brunch in the books. I'm always honored to support events that uplift the work being done to uplift and empower LGBTQIA youth in Phoenix. It has been a year since the ADA Accessible Playground opened at Encano Park. We celebrate by hosting all-inclusive egg hunt. You can move the slide. A very special shout out to the Kiwanis Club of Phoenix for putting this event together, for always supporting our community members with all abilities. The long-awaited opening of the South Central Extension is finally scheduled for June 7th. This project has been in the works for 15 years, originally planned to open in 2034. I'm proud to have been part of this historic investment in our community. Soon, South Phoenix will be connected to our existing and ever-growing light rail system. Join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Maryvale Community Center for our Spanish language budget hearing. Share feedback on the city manager's proposed fiscal year 2025-26 trial budget. Community input is key. This meeting will be held in Spanish only, so if you need English headsets, you're more than welcome to ask for them. I'm hosting a community listening session focused on public safety. We will address the ongoing issues on 35th Avenue and 27th Avenue. Join us to ask us any questions you have and to learn more about the city's efforts to improve these areas and make them safer. Scan the QR code at the top left corner to register. And some of you may have wondered why I did not say thank you to Councilman Carlos Galindo Alvira. That's because I had a slide. This past year has been an eventful working with the councilman. And he made the most of it. He started with, he didn't start with, but he hosted the incredible Latinas Shaping the Future event, highlighting the power of Latinas in Arizona. He also was recognizing the women behind the farm workers movement, and he dedicated the Avenida de Mujeres street sign. Thank you, Councilman, working with Mary Rose Wilcox, as she will be recognized via a street sign. I also like to thank Councilwoman Hodge Washington in this effort. During his time in office, he worked on funding the fire department chilled bag initiative, tree plantings in District 7, funding for a chill water station, and he donated his salary to local community organizations within his district. Thank you, Councilman, for your great work. It was quick, fast, and furious, but you did it. Thank you. Oh, I have one more. And as always, contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, D5 is always busy with events and programming, and we are continuing that trend as we move into the summer months. On March 29th, D5 celebrated the grand opening of Grand Canalscape, which unveiled Phase 3 of the Grand Canalscape, adding 4 miles of outdoor amenities and a safe new space for neighbors to exercise and enjoy the outdoors. I want to thank all of our partners and neighbors who participated in the event and helped us realize the completion of this project. Special shout out to the Maryvale High School Mariachi that was there. Very impressive. Thank you guys for all you guys did. I also want to thank you, Mayor, for your support and participation in this long-awaited event. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of things, saw a lot of children, and just the faces on the neighbors and the bikers and everyone that was there, that they are now able to enjoy a new amenity. Now some upcoming events in D5. This Saturday at Homestead Park, there will be an Easter Jubilee on from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be an egg hunt, bounce houses, food and music for everyone to enjoy. You can also expect to get a picture with the Easter Bunny, so mark your calendars for this weekend. Also, mark on your calendar for our next Maryville Mercado on April 26th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Maryville Community Center. I am excited to share that we will be celebrating Children's Day, Dia del Niño. We will have tons of toys, free toys for all of the children that show up to this event. We will have various activities for kids to enjoy, such as bounce houses, water slides, again, the free toys. Also, in partnership with the fire department, we will be hosting a bike rodeo and car seat check, and another little surprise that the fire department will have for the kids once we get started. We look forward to seeing everyone there and looking forward to this summer. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I want to join Councilwoman Hodge Washington in congratulating Jeff Barton on his NAACP Maricopa County Branch Trailblazer Award. This award recognizes individuals who have broken new ground in advancing justice, equity, and access for historically marginalized communities. It recognizes not only those who lead with vision, but who actively work to clear a path for others to follow. This award affirms what many in our city already know, that Jeff is a principled leader and a committed public servant. Through his decades of public service, he has strengthened city operations, championed fiscal responsibility, and prioritized equity, showing that when leadership reflects the diversity of the people it serves, the entire city benefits. Congratulations, Jeff. Does anyone have any additional comments before we go to Councilman Galindo Elvira? All right, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. My elementary school teachers would be surprised that I'm speechless. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to go last. I kind of like having the final word. But it's really not been about that. It's really been about working with everyone and really learning from you all and gaining a new appreciation for what I've always believed, that different political ideas are not the dividing line for civility, decorum, or respect. And many of you, I learned from you, and I enjoyed your feedback, but nobody gave me feedback like Betty Guardado, and she could do it in both languages, so it was sweet and it stung, but you know what? It really made me a better leader, so muchas gracias, Betty. Of course, my good friend Laura Pastor, we've known each other since college, and yes, she has always been that feisty. And I respect her so much for it. And from the Vice Mayor, Ann O'Brien, I have really enjoyed your principal leadership, along with that of Jim Waring and Kevin Robinson. Man, it was great catching up with you, knowing you from the community, being a good neighbor. And he says we can hear each other through the thin walls, but I never heard your parties. And nobody on the council is more aware or understanding of planning and zoning issues like Deborah Stark. And when I had questions, it was good learning, and I really appreciated your patience. And to my partner in so many events and in so many sponsorship of things, Keisha Hodge Washington, she's brilliant. And we were in a meeting one time, and I broke out with asking a question using a legal term, and she turned around and just said, "Look at you." And that's the highest compliment from somebody like Keisha Hodge Washington, who's a lawyer. And of course, all I could say is, hey, I watch my Law and Order. But I want to get to my presentation because we got business still. We're here to do the people's business, and we've got to make sure that happens. Next slide, please. Wishing a joyful and meaningful Passover to all who celebrate. May the season of reflection, freedom, and renewal bring peace to your home and community. Hag Pesach Sameach. Last month, we had the privilege of honoring the women of the farm worker movement. Oh, next slide, sorry. Last month, we had the privilege of honoring the women of the farm worker movement with a commemorative street sign. Today, I'm proud to present copies of that sign to two of our own city employees, both of whom are direct descendants of women or who have played a role in that powerful movement. First, we have Henry Cruz from our Streets Department. This is a story of what happened with Henry. Henry, I'll call both of them up. We're going to take a picture, but I want to tell everybody his story. So Henry was supposed to have the day off on that Saturday, but he came in and he met with our chief of staff, Leila Gamis, and he asked, "What's going on here?" And Leila said, "Well, we're honoring the women of the movement, and that's Santa Rita Hall." And Henry said, "Well, my nana used to go there, and she knew Cesar Chavez." And Leila asked him, "Well, who was your nana?" And he said, "Terry Cruz." Terry Cruz was one of the ladies we were honoring that morning. And it just by happenstance, he was the person to unveil the ceremonial sign. And it was just a great moment that life is circular and the movement continues through its descendants. And secondly, I want to recognize Jose Casper Abre from our Parks Department, who has given 4 decades of service to the city of Phoenix, but he's also been the keeper of the flame for the cause. He takes a personal interest in making sure that Santa Rita Hall is open and that history is never forgotten. And so I'd like to invite both gentlemen to come backstage and take a picture with the council so that I can present them their street sign for them to have as a memory of that day and as a thank you for the work they do for our community. As people get to their seats, I'm going to go ahead and continue with my presentation so that we get a chance to move along. We celebrated the opening of a new shelter and resource center in District 7. This is a major step forward in supporting those experiencing homelessness. This facility isn't just a shelter, it's a lifeline to stability, resources, and hope for our community. A huge thank you to everyone who helped bring this project to life, especially the staff of Office of Homeless Solutions, who are talented and extremely caring for our community. Next slide. Last week, I joined Mayor Gallego, Councilwoman Stark, and Councilwoman Pastor and our community to unveil the HIV/AIDS mural at the Parsons Center for Health and Wellness. This powerful piece honors HIV advocacy and our commitment to ending the epidemic. Next slide. This past Saturday, we officially opened Farmland Park in Laveen, Phoenix's 188th park. The new space features a shaded playground for kids, 2 basketball courts, a skate park, and offering and pickleball. Everybody wants pickleball. And this space offers something for everyone in the community to enjoy. Next slide. I'm excited to say I finished visiting all the fire stations in District 7, and along the way, I got to cook dinner at each one. It was great to hang out with the crews and thank them for everything they do. Big thank you to Mayor Gallego for joining me at Fire Station number 1. Next slide. Yesterday, I had my final police briefing with Chief Sullivan. I want to personally thank him for his service to our city and wish him all the best in his next endeavors. Next slide. Earlier this week, I visited Phoenix Rescue Mission. They're an organization that provides life-transforming solutions to individuals facing hunger, homelessness, addiction, and trauma through a variety of programs addressing both immediate and long-term needs. Next slide. I visited the Neighborhood Christian Clinic yesterday for a tour and to thank them for their upcoming work to provide on-site mental health services for their clients. Annually, more than 10,000 persons receive healthcare and dental services. Next slide. Tomorrow we're celebrating the legendary Wallace and Ladmo show with a ceremonial street sign at the corner of 1st Avenue and McKinley. And yes, attendees will get a chance to get a Ladmo bag while supplies last. Please don't call. I'm not reserving any. It's a first come, first served basis to be fair to everyone. Next slide. I'd like to invite all of you to join myself and Councilwoman Keisha Hodge Washington on Saturday at 9 a.m. at Grant Park, where we'll be honoring Mary Rose Wilcox with a ceremonial street naming. It'll take place on the corner of 2nd Avenue and Grant Street. I hope to see you there as we celebrate her remarkable contributions to our community. Next slide. As I close, I want to take a moment to thank the incredible District 7 community. Serving you has truly been one of the greatest honors of my life. From day one, you welcomed me with open arms, and I'm deeply grateful for your trust and support. I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mayor Gallego and my fellow council members. It's been a privilege to work alongside with you in service to our city. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this journey. And I especially want to thank the staff of District 7, the Chief of Staff, Leila Gamis, and Grant Harrison, who oversaw our constituent services. Because of you, we were successful. And a note about Phoenix City staff. I have found staff to be dedicated, professional, and just full of heart. They care about our community. They want us to succeed. And truly, all of us here on the dais, we're the elected ones. We get the headlines and the quotes, but it's the staff who make the magic happen, who ensure that the services that we provide to our residents happen and that they are quality services. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Phoenix City staff. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Can we get a round of applause for the councilman? And with that, we will go to agenda item 1, but the recognitions are not over. So we'll ask everyone to come forward for a public safety update. For those of folks who have not been following the council closely, last September, the City Council unanimously passed a series of public safety reforms to provide for greater transparency and accountability, as well as improve how we interact with vulnerable communities. As part of that effort, we asked city staff and the police department to provide regular updates to the public and council on those reforms, and this is one of those updates. There is always more work to do, but I'm proud of the progress we've made so far. Our community assistance program is making sure we're responding with trained behavioral health professionals and services when it's more appropriate than a police officer. And the changes we're making within the police department will improve the training of our officers, make it easier for the public to engage, and for us to invest in accountability. Before we start this, we'll have some additional recognitions. Today is Chief Sullivan's last City Council meeting. Chief, you're leaving the department and the City of Phoenix better than you found it. Thank you for lending us your great expertise. We called upon you in our toughest of times, including while we were navigating the Department of Justice investigation. You've made changes that are extend far beyond that, most importantly to make our department, our officers safer, and our community safer. There are few law enforcement professionals I've known who are as committed as you are to always looking at ways to improve policing and make the city better. I'm grateful to you, your family, who shared you with us, and wish you the best in the future. So thank you for that. And then I want to congratulate Shannon Johani for her appointment as our permanent director of the Office of Accountability and Transparency. She did an exceptional job as the interim director of the office and has led her team to put together a comprehensive, thoughtful, and meaningful series of reports about how our department can improve. Many of those ideas have already been adopted by the City Council or the department. So I'm looking forward to working with you and learning more from you. And before we introduce the main presentation, anyone have any additional? Oh, Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor stole a lot of my thunder on wanting to thank the chief, but I want to explain a couple of things, but I need to give you a little bit of context. And that context is because of a variety of happenstances, I had the pleasure of having worked with every Phoenix police chief directly, reporting directly to every Phoenix police chief since Ruben Ortega. And that goes back to before a lot of you were born. That says a lot more about me than you, but it goes back to Ruben took office in January of 1980. I hit the streets in December of 1980. And later in my career, I was appointed to a position where I reported directly to Chief Ortega. Then when Chief Ortega retired, I reported directly to Dennis Garrett. After Dennis Garrett, I reported directly to Harold Hurt. I was an assistant chief by that time, and the same with Jack Harris, the same with Danny Garcia, the same with Joe Yonner, and then Jerry Williams. Each and every one of those chiefs brought something different to the organization. But Chief Sullivan, I will tell you this, and I say this without any hesitation whatsoever, what you did was tremendous. The amount of work, the amount of success that you had in making things happen within this organization cannot go unnoticed. It cannot go unrecognized. And I say that because it was in the mid to late 90s, we tried to change the use of force policy for the Phoenix Police Department. I think most of your executive staff were officers at the time and stuff like that. There was a guy by the name of Mike Frazier who was a commander at the time, who went on to be an executive assistant chief with Phoenix, police chief at 2 other agencies, and a city manager at another city. Mike couldn't get that done, and we tried like hell. And it was one of those things. But Chief, you had what I truly referred to as the profiles in courage, because you knew what it meant to make decisions that people would not like. And that is true leadership. There's no way around it, nothing you can say about it. I mean, that is it. I mean, you demonstrated what we needed as an organization. And as the mayor just said, you know, you came here, you're leaving it in a much better position than what you found it in. And I think we owe you a great deal of gratitude for that. I personally wish I had had the opportunity to work for you simply because, you know, you provided that type of demonstrative leadership that I think each and every one of us can learn from. So thank you very much for your time and all that you have done and the sacrifices that you have made. And Mayor, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. As well, don't want to echo everything, but echoing everything that everyone has said. Thank you, Chief, for everything that you did. I enjoyed a lot working with you. The reforms that you did, everything that you did for the department, I'll just say it again. You're leaving the department better than it was when you first got here. Also want to thank your family for the sacrifice and everything they had to go through and do to make sure that you were able to come here and do the job that you did. It was tremendous work. You know, I'm sad to see you go, but, you know, I also wish you the best on whatever is out there for you next. And everyone should know that what you did here is going to cause an impact in our community for decades to come. It's something that was needed at the moment, and I appreciate all of your hard work, all the changes that you made, all the implementations that you did. I think it was work that needed to get done. So I will forever be grateful for all of the work that you did. Thank you. And also, Shannon, welcome. Congratulations on your new position and looking forward to working with you. I know that you've already done a lot of good work and can't wait to get briefings with you and figure out how is it that my office can be helpful to you as we continue to move forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you. So Chief, as the only other employee that knows how to pronounce Louisville correctly, I'm going to miss you. I want to thank you for all you've done, and especially all the help you've given us in District 3. I really do appreciate it. You've been a thoughtful leader. You've gotten us through some tough times, and I know you'll move forward to greatness, but we sure are going to miss you here. Thanks again.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington, and then Vice Mayor, and then Councilman Galindo Alvira.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to echo all the sentiments, but I also want to say thank you, Chief, for all that you have done. I want to definitely wish you best wishes in your next step. I want to specifically say thank you for being present, especially even in the difficult conversations. When the DOJ investigation came out, I asked you if you were willing to do a town hall in my district, and without hesitation, you said yes. You sat through some very uncomfortable conversations, and I really appreciated how you made the members of the community feel seen and heard. And as we heard, you were able to do things that other chiefs before you were not able to do. I think it's because you had a passion and a dedication to leaving the city better off than you came into it. But I really just want to say thank you for always being available and open, and always being willing to being there for those hard calls and doing what you believe to be right. You will be missed, but I truly appreciate all the work you've done, specifically when it comes to community relations. Thank you. And also, Shannon, I know you get to follow the gratitude to Chief, but welcome aboard. Thank you for stepping into the role, and look forward to working with you as well.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mayor. So I'm going to do it in reverse and say congratulations, Shannon. And it was about time you did this job in an interim capacity for 14 months. So thank you for doing that work in that capacity, and very excited to have you in that role on a permanent basis. And then, Chief, you came at an incredibly difficult time and took on a job that I'm not really sure we ever thought anybody would come and do. And you implemented changes that were incredibly difficult. And while you did that, you also had a focus on decreasing crime and making sure that our families and citizens and visitors would be safe. And for all of that work, and the work on your family, because it's not just you, it is a family commitment. I'm grateful to you and your family. So thank you, and best of luck in whatever you do next. I hope you take a little break, though, first.
Councilman Galindo Alvira.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Sullivan, I just want to say that I found you to be one of the most honest, earnest, and courageous persons that I've met. And I appreciated that you didn't shy away from your job, and that you knew you had a mission, you worked at it, and you took the time to explain, especially when there needed to be explanations for incidents and so forth. So I do want to wish you success and just a lot of appreciation. Shannon, look forward to sitting down with you soon before I leave. I know. I'm still doing meetings. I'm still doing the people's business. That's not going to change. Chief Orender, I know you'll be sworn in next Tuesday. I've worked with you in the past, especially dealing with issues of bias, and your work in securing and making communities that are vulnerable feel secure. So I do believe you'll do a good job, and the change can't stop. It can't be delayed, and it cannot be denied. It has to continue, because reform is the only way that it's the only arrow that matters, that there must be continued reform. So good luck.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you. There you go, Chief. Got you up there. I wanted to thank you, wanted to make sure you had a slide for yourself, and as you're smiling and I'm smiling, we have a common joke between ourselves, and we're real people in the sense of getting down to business and really talking about what needs to happen. Timing is everything. So the timing is everything in the sense that when you entered, it was at a space and time where we needed reform. We were under DOJ. You understood DOJ. You understood what reform and had implemented and practiced what reform looked like. And I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that, because the change that has happened, as stated earlier, needed to happen decades ago. And you were able to come during that time and space to make it happen. It also wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a council that really forced and understood what needed to happen for community and building the piece of trust within the community. It also wouldn't have happened if OAT hadn't been created. And with Shannon sitting there understanding the importance of OAT and working with the police chief and bringing the accountability and transparency that was needed, not only within our community, but within the police department. You did incredible work within the amount of time that you had. And as I stated earlier, time is everything. Thank you for that. Thank your family for moving and doing the sacrifices that they did for you to sacrifice for Phoenix. And thank you for everything that you have impacted within our community, because we will feel it and we will see it in time. Take that break, do what you want to do, enjoy it, and then enter back in, because you have this experience and somebody's going to need you somewhere else. So thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Congratulations.
Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Chief, I, from observation, never thought you gave anything less than 100% effort to this. I'm sure probably at great personal cost. I know you came in at a really tough time for the department, and I know how hard working for the 9 of us can probably be. I certainly own more than 1/9 of that, I have no doubt. But one thing I know for sure, you and I did not always agree, but I thought you were always direct and honest with me. Frankly, that was something you shared with your predecessors, who were always extremely candid, and I have always appreciated that in my 13 years on this council. But, you know, for the two of us, sometimes we didn't always see eye to eye, but and I forget who it was who said that you went out to community meetings. You did that for me, for HOAs. I don't know if you remember that. Right when you started, I appreciate that. I always think reaching out to members of the community is important. You were certainly willing to do that. You did personal follow-ups, and you were always extremely responsive, no matter how much you were probably rolling your eyes as you were either typing a response or calling me. I'm self-aware. I'm just too much of a jerk to change. But you know what? Even if we didn't always agree, I enjoyed working with you for that very reason. You're an honorable person, and I thought you gave 100% effort to this. I have to say I was shocked when I got the news, I guess a week ago or so. I'm sure that was not a decision taken lightly, but I have zero doubt you did it not in self-interest, but in the interest of Phoenix, and that is much appreciated by me. So thank you, good luck and Godspeed in whatever you do next.
Thank you. Thank you to all my colleagues, and congratulations as well to Chief Dennis Orender, who will be taking over that 4-star, a 30-year veteran of our police department, who's been all over the city in so many different roles and been involved in the community, including through Valley Leadership, also served our country in the Air Force. So we're excited to have you serving as our interim police chief. Before we actually get to the PowerPoint slides, would anyone whose name was just mentioned like to say a few words?
No, thank you, Mayor.
So I want to start off, and I have some remarks that I'm going to talk to you about in the presentation, but the credit really goes to the men and women who do this work every single day. They're dedicated to go out and make sure that this incredibly tough work happens, and they have eyes on them from every angle. And it's very difficult work, and we need to continue to uplift them, inspire them, and make sure that they have the training and policies in place to be able to go out and do this work and build community trust. And never forget what we exist for, which is to prevent and control crime. Thank you so much for all the support that you've given me during my time here. It's something that I will never forget. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mayor. May I actually speak?
Yes,
I was going to say
please.
this at the end of my presentation, but I think now will work. I wanted to personally thank, on behalf of the whole OAT team, Chief Sullivan. He has embraced OAT's work, and through his example and leadership, OAT has really been able to build reciprocal relationships with the department, and he's allowed us to bring that sight into the department that is critical for transparency. The OAT team is grateful for the impact of your leadership and example, and how it has made that leadership and that example is a critical component of embedding civilian oversight in Phoenix and in the Phoenix Police Department. And for that, the OAT team, and I know the Phoenix community, is eternally grateful.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I just want to say thank you for your leadership. You put me in the Executive Assistant Chief position, something that I will forever be grateful for. I've seen you work so hard over the last 2.5 years that you've been here, and you've made a positive impact on not only the organization, but this community, and so I want to thank you for that. I wish you well. And to the Mayor and Council, thank you for your vote of confidence. To Lori and Jeff, thank you for your vote of confidence. And to the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department, I promise you that you will get 110% from me, so thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. And now I'll turn it over to our city leadership to introduce the main presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. I would be remiss if I didn't just take 1 minute to also say thank you to Chief Sullivan. He came into this role being asked to do something that was very significant and very difficult, and he did it with 100% effort, as was mentioned, and with a heart for the men and women in the department, with a heart for the community, and with the best interest of the city of Phoenix in mind. And so I just want to personally thank him for the service that he has provided. I really believe that there is a season for everything, and as this season transitions and we move into Chief Orender's leadership, I think you will see that we've built a very strong public safety team, and public safety is not just about police, it is about many facets of city government as well as community partnerships, and I think that's what we will focus on today is that partnership and how we work together to build a stronger, safer community. And so what I will start with is introducing the team that's going to present to you today. As you mentioned, Mayor, at the beginning, this is our 6-month update on the public safety improvements that were approved back in September of 2024. And we are very pleased to share with you the progress that we've made. I think we've made significant progress on these objectives, and we will start by talking about our Office of Homeless Solutions. Director Rachel Milne will provide that portion of the presentation. Then we will move into an update on the Community Assistance Program, CAP, and talk about the implementation of that expansion, which is very exciting. And then third, we will talk about the police department 6-month deliverables and the progress on those. Many of those things have been completed. Chief Sullivan will talk about those, and then we will talk about things that are in progress and on the horizon, and Chief Orender will talk about those. And then finally, we will wrap up with an update on the Office of Accountability and Transparency and their oversight of the police department recommendations that they've made, and Director Yohani will talk about those. So we will just get started with the presentation. I will warn you in advance, it's a little bit lengthy, but it is a lot of really good information, and so we hope that you enjoy it. So we'll turn it over to Rachel.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here today to tell you about some of the additional progress the Office of Homeless Solutions has made in adding resources to the homeless service system since our last update with this group in September, and to provide updates on areas where OHS and the Phoenix Police Department are furthering our collaboration. OHS has been committed to expanding resources over the last several years, and we just celebrated our 10th project that the city has created or funded in the 3-year period, transforming the shelter system in our region. Some of these projects expanded existing shelter sites, and some created new sites in areas of the city where services didn't exist before. 3 of the projects are owned by the city, and 7 are owned by nonprofit partners. Combined, we created over 1,200 new indoor beds and 300 new spaces for people at our safe outdoor space. Additional projects in the pipeline will result in more than 200 safe indoor beds. All of these resources add to our ability as a city to offer alternative placements to people in unsheltered situations, whether services are offered by the Office of Homeless Solutions, our nonprofit outreach partners, or Phoenix police officers. We have more resources and more safe places in our community now than ever before. Our most recent project was already talked a little bit about earlier today, but it is the new Phoenix Navigation Center at 71st Avenue in Van Buren. We celebrated the ribbon cutting in March. However, we began operating in a temporary capacity in July of 2024. Now that we are fully open, 280 individuals can utilize this site to work to end their homelessness. The site has a dorm that serves 100 men each night, a dorm for 100 women each night, and converted shipping containers that provide 80 non-congregate units for partners or people in need of private space. The site also includes 1 large communal space, as shown in the upper left of this photo, for case management, meals, and other services that are offered at the site. We've created a dignified, safe place where people will be supported with their individual needs. Commander Saflar and the Maryvale Estrella Mountain Precinct have partnered with us at this site from the beginning, participating in our community outreach and community advisory committee meetings, and helping refer individuals to this shelter when needed. This is an inside view of the women's dorm just before we opened it to women in the community. And this is a view of our X-Wing units, which are the converted shipping containers that we use as non-congregate space for people in our workforce program or couples who wish to remain together. And this is an interior shot of one of those X-Wing units. You can see it has plenty of space for storage, a small desk, and a bed. Since opening in a temporary capacity last summer, this site has already helped over 400 people out of unsheltered situations, and 58 of them have ended their homelessness and moved into housing. One recent story that my team shared with me is of a young gentleman experiencing homelessness in the area. He had aged out of the foster care system and found himself unsheltered. He was referred by an outreach team to the Phoenix Navigation Center, where he participated in St. Vincent de Paul's workforce development program. He has since moved out of the shelter into housing and is maintaining his employment. Now that we are occupying the full space at the center, we anticipate growing the number of people served while maintaining our commitments to the community, operating as a closed campus with a workforce focus as we help connect people with the resources they will need to end their homelessness. The city's safe outdoor space is located at 1537 West Jackson. This site provides safe outdoor camping spaces for individuals who may not be ready for an indoor shelter or housing placement. It can serve up to 300 individuals at a time with 200 tent spaces and 40 non-congregate spaces in the X-Wings, again, for vulnerable individuals or people needing their own private space. The site provides restrooms, showers, laundry facilities, as well as indoor space for cooling, eating, and all case management services. The Downtown Operations Unit and Commander Cedar have been great partners on this project. Having this site has helped the police department enforce the blocks close to camping around the key campus. This is a view of the large shaded area with the turf that was installed. Each individual at the site is issued a tent and storage compartment for their belongings when they arrive. And we also have X-Wing units at this site, so here's a view of those units. And again, they are dedicated for people in our workforce programs or individuals that are extremely vulnerable. The Safe Outdoor Space was launched in November in 2023 as an alternative to a typical shelter, offering a safer option for people experiencing unsheltered homelessness who may not be ready again for that typical shelter or housing. Its goal is to work with individuals to help them get ready for indoor shelter or housing. It's resourced similarly to a shelter with full case management, behavioral health, and workforce services. We have been successful in our goal of moving people to indoor spaces, and since opening, we've helped 218 individuals move into a sheltered environment and 133 into a housed environment. OHS has partnered with Arizona at Work, St. Vincent de Paul, and St. Joseph the Worker to provide our workforce development services at the site. These providers meet with individuals seeking employment opportunities and provide assistance with resume building, job readiness, clothing, and referrals to employers with vacant positions. To date, we've had 254 individuals at the Safe Outdoor Space participate in those programs. Many supplemental services have also been offered at this site to guests, such as Valley Dog Rescue, who provides preventative care and vaccination efforts, Circle the City and Street Medicine Phoenix, who are on site providing basic medical needs and first aid. We recently worked with a couple from the Safe Outdoor Space who allowed us to share their story on social media. They started their stay at the Safe Outdoor Space in a tent, eventually moved on to an X-Wing. They found sobriety at the Safe Outdoor Space, participating in an outpatient treatment program. They gained employment, and 2 weeks ago they moved into their own unit. And they are hoping to be reunited with their children in the next few weeks as well. One of the first and most important procedures that OHS formalized is the various ways in which we handle property for people experiencing homelessness. Having an excess of property is often a barrier to entering shelter. Traditional shelters may not have the capacity to allow people to bring all their property with them into that shelter. When we at the City of Phoenix open or fund a new shelter, we ensure that there is ample storage for property to accommodate the belongings of an individual or family may have. We also fund a property storage program at the Key campus. The campus serves over 1,000 people a day at their site, and our storage program allows anyone utilizing those services to store their belongings. And lastly, OHS put into place a formal procedure for unattended property, which provides guidelines on how our team assesses, provides written notice, and stores property on an unattended encampment. The process involves a notification at the encampment that we were there, and we will be storing the property when we return. Once we return, up to 24 hours later, if the property remains and the owner is still not present, the property is stored and an additional notice is provided to help the individuals connect with us to obtain their property. When an individual reaches out to be reunited with their property, we bring that property to them, allowing for an additional engagement opportunity. Since the unattended property storage program began, we have stored 215 bins, and 23 of those bins have been returned to the property owners. All three of the storage programs that I described utilize new containers from our Public Works Department, and these have kept our property storage system organized, as each container has a unique code that we can associate with either the individual it belongs to or the location of the unattended property. The Office of Homeless Solutions and the Police Department have continued to grow our partnership in many ways. First, with property storage. OHS is collaborating with the Police Department to adapt our property storage procedure to meet the Phoenix Police Department needs. We currently provide assistance to officers with our property storage programs on an as-needed basis, but are working to formalize this procedure, providing a process in Phoenix Cares that will trigger OHS to document and store property when PD requires our assistance. OHS and the Police Department have honed our process to conduct what we call our coordinated efforts. These efforts occur when OHS is working in an area that requires both homeless service provisions and also assistance from the Police Department to address any possible criminal activity. Our OHS liaisons have direct contact with community action officers, sergeants, and lieutenants in each precinct and have a process in place to schedule these coordinated efforts. One of our biggest successes in these efforts has been in the Levine area at 51st Avenue and Baseline, where we had coordinated efforts weekly for over a year to help address a complex issue in that community that required both homeless services and enforcement of illegal activity. We've taken that approach from Levine and are using a similar approach in many areas of the city where multiple city departments, including OHS and the Police Department, are needed. And finally, we've been working with the Police Department on 2 e-learning opportunities. We worked with the Downtown Operations Unit to provide input on their camping ordinance training, which was distributed to officers last month. The training touched on how to connect people to services in the field and how to connect the appropriate OHS team member if needed. We're also working on an e-learning for all officers that will go into depth on the Office of Homeless Solutions, what we do and how we can work with officers in the field to connect with us when resources are needed. And I will now pass the presentation to DC Ernst to discuss the Community Assistance Program.
Thank you, Rachel. Mayor and council members, it's my privilege to be in front of you today to update you on the work that's being done by our members in the Community Assistance Program. Today, I'll be talking to you about our staffing, calls transferred from PD communications to our behavioral health dispatchers, and an update on our behavioral health and crisis response activities. Today, I'm happy to report that we have met 80% of our positions are filled, but the work continues. In fact, we have 6 new specialists joining us later this month with their first onboarding. We'll also be opening up another recruitment for specialist positions, which are the individuals in our units that go out and assist. And that recruitment will start on April 21st. To date, we have 6 behavioral health units and 6 crisis response units out responding to 911 calls. They are available 7 days a week. For the behavioral health units, they're currently covering 23.5 hours every day, and our hours vary a little bit more on our crisis response teams. Just to give everybody a little reminder of the difference between the two, the behavioral health units respond to 911 calls related to mental health or individuals that appear to need some assistance, and our crisis response teams respond as a co-response with fire and PD on critical incidents such as house fires, unexpected deaths, and domestic violence and sexual assault calls. Our target for our behavioral health units are to have 9 units staffed. We are focusing on doing that, and currently we're at 67%. Our recruitment is focused on filling those other 3 positions or other 3 units, and we anticipate having those units up and in service by the first quarter of the calendar year 2026. In addition, after we've completed that, we will continue to focus on getting the additional 4 crisis response units staffed and out responding to 911 calls. We were asked to make sure that we had 24/7 coverage of behavioral health dispatchers by March 31st, and we are happy to report that we were able to meet that goal. On March 31st, we established 24/7 coverage and fire dispatch of our supervisors. They are the ones that take the calls directly from PD communications and dispatch out our behavioral health units. We're continuing to collaborate with both police and police communications. We conducted, Community Assistance Program, the Police Communications Division, and PD CIT Division recently reviewed and revised an e-learning training, which is available to police officers, commanders, and other employees of the police department through Phoenix U. This training provides an overview of how the behavioral health response has become a branch of the 911 system. Allie Edwards from Police Communication, Detective Sabrina Taylor from Police CIT, and Bernie Peralta, from our case work coordinator from CAP, all participated and were featured in that training. In the upcoming slides, I hope to be able to show you the impact of that training, which went out in March. Also in March, I had the privilege of going before the command staff and in educating them on the Community Assistance Program. CAP continues to work with the Phoenix Communications Division to identify calls which can be transferred to BHU dispatchers in lieu of police having to respond out on non-crime related calls. This slide represents the calls transferred for the past 2 years to the Community Assistance Program. If you compare the first 3 years of 2024 with the first 3 months of 2024 with the first 3 months of 2025, we show a 170% increase in the number of dispatched calls that have been transferred to our dispatchers. As you can see, March marked our highest call volume in the past 2 years, and we attribute that to the e-learning that we sent out. This slide represents where our units are located. In February, we established BH1, which is going to be set at Cityscape as soon as that location is completely built out. Currently, it works out of our admin location close to downtown. Our behavioral health calls continue to grow. This slide represents the total numbers of calls for service that our behavioral health units respond to monthly. Again, if you compare the first 3 months of last year to this year, we're continuing to show growth, and it's 133% growth in that time span. The 761 calls represents the total calls dispatched, and it also represents the calls that were transferred from PD. This is the first time we're presenting the type of calls that our teams are responding out to, and we took a snapshot of February. So in February, as the top three, this represents 89% of our total call volume. An example of a call that the behavioral health teams have gone out on includes a BHU team was asked to assist an individual who reported that he needed help. When the team engaged with that individual, they learned that they felt like they were a danger to themselves. They wanted to get back into services that they had been disconnected from. The individual had identified the agency that they were previously attached to. Our team was able to connect with that agency, make arrangements for us to take him to that agency that day and get him back into services. We completed that by doing what we call a warm handoff. So when we got to that agency, we went into that agency with this individual, and we made sure that the staff knew what that individual's needs were and that they were taking him or that individual in for more services. Again, proud to now also be able to report our breakdown of our responses. In fiscal year 21-22, Mayor and Council, you approved $15 million to support the development of the behavioral health units. The main purpose of this unit was to make sure that the right service was sent at the right time when a 911 call was made. As you can see in February, the singular responses, which means our BHU unit responded alone on that call and resolved the issues or the needs of the individuals alone on that call, was at 76%. However, we still can co-respond with police and fire. That could look like we dispatched at the same time with the 911 call, or when fire personnel or police personnel arrive on scene, if they identify that the individual needs assistance, they can reach out and ask for a behavioral health team to come. Moving on now to our crisis response teams. This map just is a reminder of where they're at, and we have not had any changes since the last presentation. Our crisis response teams continue to experience an increase in calls as well. Again, comparing the 3 months, we found a 9% increase between last year and this year for our crisis response teams. For our crisis response teams, they were developed in 1995 as a co-response unit with fire initially. They now co-respond mainly they now co-respond with both fire and police. The majority of the calls that they are dispatched to are related to someone who has passed away. In this particular case, in February, 53% of their calls were related to working with individuals who had experienced a loss. An example of a call outside of that, if you look at occupant services is typically a house fire. One of our crisis response teams was actually dispatched out to an apartment fire where multiple families, including adults and children, were being displaced due to the damage that was done. Our teams were able to provide that emotional support that was needed in that moment of trauma, as well as connect them and educate them to what the services are provided by Red Cross. We also left them with information on normal responses to traumatic incidents, as well as what to do after a fire and how to notify insurance and all of that. Again, a snapshot from February shows that the responses that our crisis response goes on. Singular responses are very little. They tend to be follow-up calls or calls where we're working with individuals that fire has identified as needing social services, but not urgent, emergent response. So the majority of the calls, as you can see, are responded to either as co-response with police alone, fire alone, or with both. And we are proud to now be able to report to you response times. Again, this is a snapshot from February. These are averages nationally, and working with the Harvard Kennedy GPL, we've identified that most alternative response programs report their response times in averages. A response time starts from the time that they're dispatched until the time that they arrive on scene and say that they are there. Our behavioral health units in February averaged 24 minutes, and our crisis response teams averaged 23 minutes. I should also mention that at this time, there's no national average or national requirement for alternative response teams to show up. And with that, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Chief Sullivan.
Mayor, members of council, first I want to take a little bit of time to thank you for your guidance and support over the nearly 3 years that I've been here. And as I prepare to step down at the end of the week, I also want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude. The opportunity to serve this department, this city, and this community is a privilege that I've never taken for granted. Throughout my tenure, we've faced challenges, a lot of challenges. We faced them head on. And we've also had the opportunity to celebrate accomplishments, and we've celebrated those accomplishments together. So Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, I've been truly amazed at the support that you have given my officers and our professional staff every single day. And I make sure that they know that, the support that you have given us, close to $600 million of support over the years to make sure that we have the tools that we need to be able to do our job. Thank you. I want you also to know that I've come to respect and appreciate and value the leadership relationship I have with City Manager Jeff Barton and with Assistant City Manager Lori Bay and their staff. And you see what staff is up here. We truly are a team when it comes to public safety, and it's because of the leadership that we have in the city manager's office that occurs. That doesn't happen every place. They allowed me to lead the police department. They supported me in the needed changes and decisions that I made within the department, even when those decisions weren't popular. So under my leadership, this department is focused on reducing crime, building community trust, and continuously improving. I'm proud to say we are an example of how these policing principles can coexist. I want to talk a little bit about some successes that we've seen. Crime is down in Phoenix, and it has been since the day I walked in the door. We have nearly eliminated a massive backlog for processing of sexual assault kits, thanks to this council willing to give us the resources we need to outsource those kits. We have reduced an unsustainable backlog of public records requests, and we have improved the recruiting process, leading to a dramatic increase in applications for officers. And most importantly, we started this month the largest class in over 5 years. And we have not just improved our sworn staff hiring, we have also improved the hiring of our professional staff. We currently have over 35 individuals in training preparing to work in our 911 call center, also our largest class in years. We also looked at our policies and procedures and aligned them with the highest standards in law enforcement. The revision of the department's use of force policy and subsequent training that went along with it will have a positive impact on officers and the community well into the future. But there's still much to accomplish. But there's no question that I'm leaving this department in a better place than it was when I arrived. And there's nothing that could make me more proud. I must say we couldn't have accomplished all this without the true dedication of the women and men of the Phoenix Police Department. They're absolutely amazing. We also have the support of residents that we serve every day, and that's matched by few cities and communities, and I have experience in communities across this country, and the community support that we have here is unparalleled. It was always refreshing and rewarding to be so welcomed at community meetings and events that I had the opportunity to participate in. I know I am leaving you in good and capable hands with Chief Dennis Orender during this transition period, but I truly believe our momentum is undeniable, our resolve is strong, and the men and women who work at the Phoenix Police Department are the best at what they do. So with that, Mayor and council members, thank you for your guidance and support by approving a series of improvement initiatives that are allowing us to improve the service we provide to this community. I'm proud to say we've taken multiple steps to advance those initiatives, and over the next few minutes, I want to provide you an update on our progress and future goals. So let's jump right into what we've done since the last policy session in December. Our Professional Standards Bureau manual is updated now and provides clear standards for the thoroughness of investigations. The Professional Standards Bureau staff now has explicit guidance on how to complete investigations, reports, and review evidence. Updates were also made to ensure all use of force investigations fully explore whether an officer considered de-escalation strategies during an incident. We're proud to say that the PSB manual now establishes clear deadlines for the completion of investigative reports. This update aligns with the Peace Officer Bill of Rights and requires an explanation for any delays or extensions to the investigation. Investigation updates are to be provided at 30, 60, and 90-day intervals. The PSB manual also now requires investigators to review all aspects of an incident, including those beyond the scope of the initial complaint. PSB is now required to provide a written response to the citizen complainant, explaining the investigation's findings. The findings will be sent to their mailing address or electronically if the complainant has provided an email address. Another way we've updated our accountability measures with our PSB manual is to require the police chief to explain in writing with city manager approval anytime there is a downward deviation from a recommendation of discipline by the Discipline Review Board. The chief must explain why it is in the best interest of the city to deviate. There's a standardized form for this process, and the first annual report of these downward deviations will be delivered to council by October 2025. And we've also created a clear policy for when Brady materials are forwarded to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office as well. And that's within 15 calendar days. Now I'm excited to talk about the implementation of smart notifications. This is a program our community can sign up for, which provides responding officers important information about a resident who lives at an address before arriving at the call. Community members can give information about mental health concerns, cognitive issues, communication methods, and other important considerations. And residents can sign up by going to the website at the bottom of the page on the screen that you see right now. Now, if I may, I'd like to take some time to recognize some individuals from our Organizational Integrity Bureau who have been at the forefront of our continuous improvement efforts. Some of them are here today, so I'm going to ask them to stand, if you would please, in the audience. Now, these folks, they represent sworn and professional staff and are from details such as our Continuous Improvement Unit, the Quality Assurance and Standards Unit, our Force Evaluation and Review Unit, and our Crisis Intervention Team. They have done an absolutely incredible job identifying national best practices and have been instrumental in assisting us with all of the improvement initiatives. So now I'd like to turn it over to Chief Warner, who will walk you through the initiatives that we have in progress and those projects that we have planned in the future.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor and members of the council for the opportunity to provide you with an update for our in-progress improvement initiatives. So we've presented this slide before, and I just wanted to show it as a reminder of the continuous improvement process. As you can see from the 7-step process, it starts with reviewing standards of practice and policy development, and continues through training, implementation, and compliance before the cycle repeats itself. As we discuss youth prevention programming, I want to emphasize the department's commitment to looking at least harm solutions when it comes to our youth and ensuring that we go above and beyond to have positive interactions with all the youth in our community. We continue to explore opportunities for youth engagement within the community, and we remain committed to our youth engagement through department's PAL basketball program, our cadet program, our Wake Up program, as well as our youth experiences. Additionally, we are currently exploring diversion programs in partnership with Maricopa County Juvenile Probation with an anticipated approval this summer. In May, the police department will be presenting a proposal for community-based youth prevention programming to the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee. Understanding that cultural norms can assist officers in de-escalating tense situations and enhance officers' ability to interact with the public, we recently launched our cultural competency training in February 2025 to recruit Class 580. Going forward, all recruit classes will receive this training, which focuses on the history, geography, and cultural considerations and communication guidance in the American Indian communities. As for our in-service personnel, that same training will begin in Q3 2025 when we launch our 40-hour annual module. With respect to training in the Professional Standards Bureau, or PSB, we continue to send our investigators and supervisors to Force Science. This is a company that focuses on research on unbiased scientific principles and processes when officers deal with high stress and deadly force encounters. In June 2025, our investigators will begin attending a 40-hour internal affairs proficiency training, which will be facilitated by an outside vendor. City leadership asked us to develop a biennial training plan for our crisis intervention team, or CIT officers. I'm happy to report that an incentive and deployment model is near finalization. This is what that training plan looks like. Our CIT officers will be required to attend 8 hours of training every other year, 4 hours of which will be mandatory courses, and 4 hours will be elective courses. And just as a point of reference, 75% of our CIT officers were certified over 2 years ago. Officers will be required to complete this professional development training by September of 2026. And if I could, I just want to provide an example of the great work that happens with our crisis intervention team officers every day in this city. So on December 30th, this past year, officers from the CIT squad responded to a call from a mother who wanted her adult son to get some help. When they arrived, they found this subject who was sitting on the rail of a second-story balcony, and he was obviously in crisis. The officers that were on scene displayed compassion, patience, and concern for this gentleman, and they spoke with him for over 40 minutes, eventually connecting with him and getting him to come off the balcony on his own accord. We recently posted, and we connected him with mental health services, and we recently posted this body-worn camera video on our social media platforms. And again, this is just one example of the incredible work that our officers do each and every day. We are also enhancing our customer service by creating curriculums for standards of public trust and procedural justice. This training was provided in the Q4 2024 Sergeant School, and department-wide training is slated for Q3 2025, again with our annual 40-hour module. We recognize that procedural justice in law enforcement is critically important in building trust and legitimacy with our community members. How we treat people matters just as much, if not more, than the outcomes of those interactions that we have. Council asked us to continually survey best practices of law enforcement agencies of similar size and characteristics, and we remain committed to doing just that. Our policy review cadence has been finalized, and beginning in Q2 2025, all policies will be reviewed by subject matter experts and compared to best practices on a quarterly cycle. We do believe that best improvements are driven by data. So with that in mind, we have created contact data forms for our officers, which will capture a wide range of information to include age, race, gender, and housing status. These revised forms were launched earlier this month, and further revision to the collection of this data will occur post-launch of the new records management system in the summer of 2025. At the bottom of this slide is an example of the housing status category and whether or not services were accepted or denied by an individual that we contact. This will help us better collect data on those we interact with, giving us the ability to make improvements that are really based upon facts. In keeping with our commitment to lead with services, and as mentioned earlier, we are currently in the process of training all officers on the best ways to utilize resources provided by the Community Assistance Program and the Office of Homeless Solutions. We are also adopting policies to allow the crisis intervention team to prioritize urgent and time-sensitive matters, and part of this review is how we facilitate the hospital-to-hospital transports for those in crisis, as well as those who remain under the care of a behavioral health clinician. None of this important work happens without our 911 radio dispatch team. Therefore, we are prioritizing our staffing incentives for these employees. We have increased the starting pay step for new hires and implemented a $7,500 hiring bonus, which appears to be working. We've seen our applicant pool increase since creating these initiatives, and we are now focused on onboarding and training those new employees. We continue to explore ways to increase staffing within our Communications Bureau and have recently embedded a staff member from Communications in with our Employment Services Unit to assist in the speed of hiring additional staff. With regard to technology, we are currently working with a vendor to implement technology such as voice-activated intelligence for Crime Stop calls. Implementation for that technology is anticipated for fall of 2025. The procurement plan for our new early intervention system has been approved, and the RFP process should be complete by quarter 3, 2025. This system will improve accountability and will better assist us in identifying early warning signs of behavior that could lead to misconduct, thus allowing supervisors to intervene before a more serious incident occurs. We now have a dedicated hotline ready for reporting misconduct and commendations through our 311 system. And in just a few moments, the Office of Accountability and Transparency Director, Shannon Yohani, will discuss the implementation of a new complaint and commendation intake software. We recognize that oversight is crucial to our accountability efforts, and as Chief Sullivan mentioned earlier, several updates are being made to the PSB manual. One of those updates was for investigators to provide a thorough and complete analysis and rationale for investigative findings. In December, Council directed us to create inspection sergeant positions in all precincts and bureaus. I'm happy to report the lieutenant and 3 of those sergeants are in place now, and the remaining 7 sergeants will be in place in June. These positions will be advantageous to the patrol supervisors as it will relieve them of many administrative duties, allowing those patrol supervisors to spend more time on the street with their patrol personnel. We promised to update City Council and the Civilian Review Board on public safety reforms every 3 months for the next 3 years. Today is the second update to Council since making that commitment. Since OAT and CRB's inception, we have worked to attend their meetings and provide trainings to their staff. Our staff attended the CRB meeting that was held on February 28th, and we provided a brief, high-level update on our improvement initiatives. The OAT Director will provide additional information on that update in the following presentation. We were also asked to give a similar update to Council and the CRB on compliance with OAT recommendations every 6 months. The OAT Director will provide an update on those recommendations in the following presentation as well. To better involve community in our oversight initiatives, we have now added an additional civilian for a total of 3 to our Discipline Review Board. This implementation will occur at any future DRB hearings. Our goal in every encounter is to protect the community and our employees to bring incidents to a peaceful resolution. Our updated use of force policy went active since the last time we presented at December's policy session, and this rollout was preceded by a full 2-day in-person training on the policy for all employees that are in enforcement roles. We also published an e-learning video for the same staff in the weeks leading up to the activation of that policy, and that video included updates related to strikes to the head and face, inappropriate or what we call shock language, mandatory force reviews on restrained persons, and weapon retention techniques. As I mentioned, that new policy went live on February 18th. We are currently training our Critical Incident Response Team, or CIRT, which is comprised of personnel from the Force Evaluation and Review Unit and the Professional Standards Bureau. Faru personnel are trained as force experts, and CERT has been active since March of 2025. That team co-responds to force-related critical incidents, and we've also completed the draft of our public-facing canine policy, and that will go out for public comment next month. The framework for compliance with our use of force policy involves scorecarding, and the scorecards have been developed for both use of force incidents as well as body-worn camera reviews. A formal meeting structure to discuss the data has been approved, and we are currently revising the transparency dashboards, which will outline the data we receive from these scorecards. As a department and city, we recognize and are sensitive to the complex challenges for individuals experiencing homelessness. As for projects involving the treatment of people experiencing homelessness, we indicated to council that PD would be adopting the Office of Homeless Solutions policy on unattended property. This has evolved into the interacting with individuals experiencing homelessness policy in collaboration with OHS, and this policy will be available for public comment in July 2025. We have also completed an update to our existing policy on seized and impounded property, and that entire policy will be ready for review by Q3 2025. We are also adding a supervisor review component, which will be implemented with the new records management system launch in June. Constitutional policing is critical to ensuring our officers are respecting and protecting people's civil rights while maintaining public safety. A mandatory constitutional policing training related to search and seizure has been completed by all employees in enforcement roles. This training was delivered as part of the 20-hour in-person use of force training and was completed in January 2025. We are currently completing a compliance framework for vehicle and pedestrian stops, and I think it's important to note that the current way that we analyze this data right now is it involves 3 different systems. However, we have developed a more expedient and accurate solution, and these new data capture forms will be implemented post-records management launch, which is estimated for Q4 2025. We are making significant progress in our First Amendment project. We want to ensure our employees understand the importance of respecting and protecting all community members' First Amendment rights. A few months back, we sent a draft of our First Amendment facilitation and management policy out for public comment, and we have since incorporated some of that feedback into the policy. We are currently developing training for all personnel, and we are in the process of developing specialized training in public safety response team for all patrol lieutenants to ensure they know their role in unplanned or planned events. We anticipate this policy will launch this summer, and along with that, we plan to develop a one-stop shop webpage where community members will have the appropriate links to apply for permits that involve special events. As for our behavioral health project, we have completed training for all communication staff on call diversion to the Community Assistance Program and other mobile teams. This training was completed in March of 2025. We are also currently building a robust CIT deployment model, which analyzes staffing data to ensure that all precincts are properly covered, and it provides incentives for officers to become CIT certified and remain CIT certified. We plan to launch a pilot program for the incentive model in late summer of 2025, and we will focus on the precincts and the shifts with the greatest need for CIT officers. The police department recognizes the importance of interactions with youth and the impact that we can have on their development. At council's direction, we are also creating a youth interactions policy. We are currently distributing surveys to youth and adults, and that feedback will be useful in finalizing the language in this new policy. The QR code that you see here on the screen will take you directly to that survey, and once those surveys are completed and returned, we will ensure the draft policy is available for public comment. The police department is also developing a partnership with OAT in their youth outreach program. The police department worked with OAT and City Law to revise the Memorandum of Understanding to ensure that we are aligned and complying with Phoenix City Code and the Peace Officer Bill of Rights. The OAT director will provide an update on that in just a few moments. Ensuring officers are only utilizing force that is necessary, reasonable, and proportional based upon the totality of the circumstances, we updated our discipline policies to reflect the changes from our new use of force policy. Additional draft policies regarding discipline and systems of accountability will also be available for public comment in September 2025. So now I'd like to turn to some of the upcoming projects that we will be working on. An upcoming project related to oversight will be to regularly audit a sample of police reports to ensure that officers are correctly applying the Fourth Amendment. Thanks to the council's approval, a compliance team will be hired in June and audits will commence in July 2025, post-RMS launch, with a regular cadence in operation next fall. Council directed us to explore areas where civilian staff could provide services that sworn staff has traditionally handled. We've made some progress across the department in this area, and we will begin reviewing additional roles in precincts and specialty units later this year. And this will also include a cost analysis. This initiative also builds upon the ASU Calls for Service study. Policies will be created in relation to interactions, use of force, consensual contacts and interviews, and interrogations with vulnerable persons. In 2025-2026, policies relating to interactions with persons experiencing crisis, juvenile procedures, physically impaired persons, and interviews and interrogations will be reviewed. And we also plan to have the revised contact form available in the new records management system this summer. So earlier we mentioned our commitment to adopt clear standards and accountability measures for PSB investigators and supervisors to ensure that all potential law and policy violations are fully investigated. Those accountability standards and measures will be strengthened in September 2025 through our Systems of Accountability project. And soon we will implement a software which will allow PSB to collect and record all citizen complaints to include the nature of the complaint and the precinct and the officers involved. So this slide is just a recap of some of the upcoming opportunities for community feedback related to some of our newer policies. Next month, our public-facing canine policy will go out for public comment. And in July, the public will be able to provide feedback on our interacting with individuals experiencing homelessness policy. And then in late summer, fall 2025, the youth interactions and the systems of accountability policies will be available for public comment. And the protocol for this process will include a 30-day period for public comment, as well as a regular cadence of social media outreach. And at this time, I will turn it over to the Director of Accountability and Transparency, Shannon Yohani. And congratulations, Shannon.
Before we go to the next part, Councilwoman Pastor has a question.
I have a question about the canine policy. What is that?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, that is going to be a policy that we want to show to the public that talks about the types of canines that we have. It talks about the types of facilities and care for the canine, and when we use certain canines in certain situations. So it's a public-facing policy to let the public know this is the types of canines that we have, how they're to be used, no specific tactics, but just so everybody understands, we have facility canines, we have service canines, we have drug canines, so things of that nature, so the public is aware of that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there's a policy regarding the different purposes of the canine, of the use, I guess I would say use, but what their purpose is and what they're supposed to be doing, and when they're used also.
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, and members of the public. Each time I'm here, despite the nerves, I'm genuinely excited to share with you about the growth and progress at the Office of Accountability and Transparency. I am profoundly grateful to continue serving Phoenix, which is my community, and to continue leading a talented team of dedicated folks who are committed to Oates' mission and the Phoenix community. On behalf of that team, I also want to thank Mayor and Council and share our gratitude for the support and investment of all of you in Oates' work, our connection to the community, and in the work that we will continue to do in and for the communities we are all here to serve. As the past 14 months have progressed, the Oates team has solidified our work. The team has consistently excelled at defining, refining, and demonstrating our 5 R's: reach, review, report, resolve, and repair. The team has engaged with thousands upon thousands of community members at events and communicated compassionately with those who have concerns about the department. We are currently reviewing 138 department administrative investigations and have published 22 reports. We have conducted 4 department mediations at the department level, police community mediations, excuse me, with the framework underway for individual officer community member mediations. Before I move to what I've been asked to present about today, I want to share a little bit about one of our mediations, one that I fortunately was able to observe. I received a complaint from a community member who'd overheard an officer speaking negatively about him and other members of the public, who the officer had cited while the community member was waiting in court for a hearing on his ticket. The community member acknowledged that he was responsible for the ticket. However, he did not think that the officer's conduct and comments was appropriate. He also, importantly, did not want the individual officer to be singled out and addressed directly about the conduct. He felt it was a larger systemic issue with the department. He did want the department to be aware of the impact of comments like those on public perceptions of police, and that he overall had a positive perception about police. The department designees acknowledged that this behavior was not appropriate, and also thanked the community member for his willingness to bring it to their attention and to give the department an opportunity to address it. Though OAT mediation does not require any side to agree to any actions or outcomes, the department initiated a series of steps to address professionalism at a larger level and to re-educate officers responding at events on best enforcement practices. The community member was thankful and appreciated the department's willingness to both listen to and address his concerns respectfully. The department appreciated the opportunity to communicate about community concerns in a de-escalated setting where resolution was the goal. The department designees and community member also connected over a love of classic cars, reinforcing the importance of human and personal connection to humanize members of the community as well as members of the department. These positive perceptions and takeaways have been across the board for all participants in the mediations to date. We are very excited to expand our mediations to community police mediations in Phoenix, and we have that framework underway. This is just one example of the remarkable work at OAT and the expansion of OAT's capacity and reach since I last shared with you. Now to what I'm specifically here to share about today. Updates related to the Civilian Review Board, revisions to the Memorandum of Understanding between OAT and the department, progress on the centralized hotline, and the department's compliance with agreed upon OAT recommendations. The Civilian Review Board's 9 members were seated in October of 2024. At the January 2025 meeting, the board elected John Graham as the board chair and Michael Robert as the vice chair. Department representatives, OAT staff, CMO leadership, and law department representatives have attended each of the meetings. We've held 4 board meetings to date. 3 of these meetings have provided necessary foundations for the board to do their work. We've covered the OAT ordinance, Phoenix City Code Chapter 20, Arizona Revised Statute Section 381117 that preempted the city ordinance, Professional Standards Bureau processes and procedures, the Force Evaluation Review Unit, Peace Officer Bill of Rights, and constitutional principles in criminal law. The board has been enthusiastically engaged throughout the trainings, which have been a joint effort between the department and OAT. The final training meeting will be Friday, April 25th, where the board will hear from the department about Operations Order 1.5, the department's new use of force policy. That will be followed by a mock board meeting using the first 2 OAT reports and department responses to give the board the opportunity to work through cases before formally hearing OAT reports and making findings. The board will hold their first formal board business meeting on Friday, May 23rd, 2025 in the Phoenix City Hall Assembly Rooms. At the May meeting, the board will begin their charge to review OAT reports and recommendations and department responses. The board will issue findings on calendared reports and recommendations. There are 5 findings the board can issue after their review: adopt, adopt with revisions, decline, decline with revisions, and additional information required. OAT staff will forward all board findings to the police chief and the city manager after each meeting. OAT, the department, and law have worked over the past 5 months to review and revise the Memorandum of Understanding that was initially signed in April of 2023. MOU revisions were necessary as the initial MOU was drafted before OAT's and the department's working relationship, as well as information sharing processes, had truly begun. By building on the lessons learned, the working relationships developed, And with an understanding of each department's business processes, OAT and PPD now have an MOU that provides needed structure and expectations to ensure both OAT and PPD are able to meet the ordinance mandates. A few highlights include specifying a no more than 72-hour notice requirement from the department to OAT for incidents under OAT's mandatory authority detailed in Phoenix City Code sections 20-6, as well as a 72-hour notice timeframe for OAT to inform the department that it will review an administrative investigation. The revised MOU also details methods and timeframes for documentation and information sharing from the department to OAT, and the MOU now includes sections on both mediation and the Civilian Review Board. With the evolution of OAT's work and the development of relationships with the department, the MOU revision has memorialized the progress and processes over the last 2 years. To address the Mayor and Council mandate from September 2024, in collaboration with CMO, 311, and the department, we have begun the process of implementing a single online portal for community members to file complaints and commendations about the department. OAT and PSB will have full access to all complaints and commendations filed through the portal and will be able to share information as well as review audit trails to see what work each department has completed on portal cases. Additionally, complaints and commendations filed through the portal will provide a tracking number for members of the public who file via portal to check the status of their complaint or commendation. The soft launch for the online portal is anticipated for late May, early June 2025. We continue to work on a centralized phone line for the department's complaints and commendations to be received. The department's compliance with OAT recommendations has been significant. OAT has made 19 independent recommendations across 22 reports. Some recommendations carry across multiple reports due to the timing of the report release and implementation dates. The department agreed with 16 of those 19 recommendations. One recommendation was in our recently released March reports, and the department's response is not due until April 19th. To date, the department has implemented or updated manuals or operations orders for all agreed upon recommendations. The department's disagreement with OAT recommendations was isolated to 2 reports and were fact-specific. For 3 of the 16 recommendations, which span multiple investigations and their related OAT reports, OAT has seen documented and evidence compliance with these recommendations. 1, identify the source of allegations. 2, provide written analysis in support of findings. And 3, actual training completed. The first was an important change as it allows OAT, and therefore the public, to see when department investigations are initiated by external sources of concern or by the department recognition of potentially problematic conduct. Consistent with being a self-assessing and self-correcting agency, it is critical that the department show that it recognizes problematic conduct and takes the necessary steps to investigate it. As for the second, this change provides that critical transparency or sight into department decision-making and analysis. Consistent with other mayor and council mandates, this recommendation ensures that even if there is disagreement with the outcomes investigations or critical incident review board recommendations or executive leadership downward deviations, there is sight into how the decision was reached, which is a critical component of procedural fairness. And the third involved aligning what was ordered for training with the actual training completed by the officer. This ensures that officers get needed training to improve responses and reinforce policy, and that the department is consistent in application and enforcement of training requirements. The department has modified operations orders and PSB manuals to embed the changes in their documented policies and procedures. For all additional agreed upon OAT recommendations, OAT has not yet completed a review of factually similar incidents to verify that the changes to operations orders or manuals have resulted in the recommended improvements. OAT will continue to review investigations to ensure that the implemented revisions meaningfully result in improved investigations, accountability, and transparency. The additional recommendations include interview officer regarding every allegation, meaningfully explore officers' consideration of de-escalation strategies, conduct a full-scale professional standards bureau investigation, conduct a follow-up interview of the involved officer, conduct a complete review of all available evidence, refer incidents of similar severity to the Critical Incident Review Board, elicit answers from the involved officers about law, policy, and training, provide written analysis and conclusions in support of investigative findings, and this applies to both the Professional Standards Bureau, the Police Chief, as well as the Critical Incident Review Board, Include and address all strikes, jabs, and uses of a firearm as an improvised impact weapon. Include all potential policies implicated by the involved officer's actions. Articulate and document criteria for determining whether a death occurred in custody and resulted from officer conduct. Maintain in-custody death designation for all investigations. Explore officers' understanding and response to individuals with mental illness. And review the conduct of all officers who use or threaten use of force. OAT is currently reviewing 138 department administrative cases with 22 reports published. Reports will now release monthly starting in March of 2025. The Civilian Review Board will review OAT reports and department responses approximately 2 months after OAT report release. The next batch of OAT reports will release Thursday, April 24th. The Civilian Review Board will hear the OAT reports and department responses approximately 60 days after publication. All OAT reports will now reflect the department response due date, as well as the date that each case will be heard by the board. As OAT, the department, and the Civilian Review Board work through the OAT recommendations and department responses, we will continue to track and report on the status of OAT recommendations, as well as any additional recommendations that may come from the board. Members of the community can reach OAT by phone, email, or in person at the OAT office at 350 West Jefferson. We have monitors or reviewers available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to receive complaints or commendations in person or by phone. Members can also leave a voicemail or send an email, and we will respond during those business hours. Members of our monitor and community engagement teams are here today to assist any members of the public who wish to file a complaint or commendation or would like more information about OAT. Thank you for the continued opportunities to share about OAT and the great work that this team is doing.
Thank you. Thank you all for the really informative presentations, covered a lot of information. We'll next go to council member comments and questions, and then I'll turn to the city manager for a concluding statement and recognition, and then we do have public comment. Council members. All right, I will turn to the city manager.
Mayor, members, and council, thank you. It was important to me that I defer my comments about Chief Sullivan until the end, because I thought it was important for him to begin his last presentation and his last policy session with praise on both ends of the spectrum. I also thought it was really important for you to get to see his commitment on even as he exits the department to this job and this profession and to this city, and you saw that throughout this presentation. I also thought it was really important for us to be able, as a team, as the chief talked about, to be able to demonstrate that change is inevitable. It's happening. This council wants it, our community wants it, and our chief, Chief Sullivan, has set this department up for success moving forward with his framework and his commitment to that continuous improvement. Me as an auditor loves those words when he talks about self-assessing, self-correcting, because that is the definition of continuous improvement. But Chief, you know, in the military, the Congressional Medal of Honor is awarded for courage under fire and being the bravest of the brave. And I think if I were to describe you with one word, it would be fortitude. You've demonstrated courage under fire, courage in adversity, and over the last 3 years, you've consistently thrown yourself in harm's way for the betterment of all. And I want to thank you personally. I want to thank your family for demonstrating that collective selflessness. So thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Councilwoman Hunt Washington.
Now I feel bad asking questions after the accolades for the chief, but I just wanted to start off by saying I know that the council did provide what I think was very aggressive goals in order to what we were asking from our departments, and I think you guys have rose to the occasion. So I wanted to start off by saying thank you for all of the effort that you have done in order to make these recommendations come to fruition. I just had a couple of questions and comments, more so for clarity and clarification. I want to start off with OHS. I wanted to just get some some clarification on the capacity of the 10 projects. We said about 1,200 beds. Can you tell us where we kind of stand from a capacity standpoint?
Sure. So, Mayor and members of the council, so the 10 projects that we've created over the last 3 years, created or expanded, increase our capacity in our system by 1,200. Prior to this 3 years and these 10 projects, we had a good amount of capacity within the city of Phoenix of about 1,400, so almost doubled that capacity. And then additionally, we have the 300 spaces at the safe outdoor space as well.
And of those 1,200 additional beds that we have put into the flow, can you tell us about how many of them are currently occupied at this point?
Sure, Mayor and members of the council. So when we bring a project on board, we fill to capacity quickly. So as many beds as we open, sometimes that happens over several months so as not to inundate staff, but they're filled. So for example, our last project to open is the Phoenix Navigation Center. We're offering 3 to 5 beds a day, and those are filled as well. So we anticipate to be at full capacity within the next month.
Thank you so much. I just had another question for you regarding the safe outdoor space. It's my understanding, and this is your world, not mine, that it is generally a high acuity population. They tend to be a little harder when it comes for placement. And I see here that the success rate from those through the safe outdoor space is about 15%. Can you tell us whether or not, from my perception, that seems like a positive, but can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, excellent question. So yes, typically our guests at the safe outdoor space might have a little bit higher acuity. And so again, the real goal for folks at the safe outdoor space is to move into indoor locations. So whereas we have a little lower positive exit rate from the safe outdoor space as we would our typical shelters, we do see that as very positive, moving someone from that space into an indoor space where they have additional services to eventually move into a housed situation.
Thank you so much for that clarification. And move on to you for Community Assistance Program. This is actually something that I'm, not that I don't appreciate all of the other reforms, but I was very happy to hear where we are when it comes to staff in that project. I think many individuals agree that when it comes to behavioral health issues, that maybe law enforcement isn't the best person to deal with it. And for me, when I saw that the goal was met in slide 22, and to me, slide 24 and 26 tells the success that we're shifting more and more of these behavioral health calls from PDs to those that are better suited for those. I'm just a little more curious to hear whether or not individuals who have had interaction with our behavioral health team or our crisis response units, do we find that they follow up with those units after the emergency or after the initial interaction, or is it more just a one-time type of interaction?
Mayor and council members, thank you for the question. It's typically a one-time once we get them into the services. Now, we may have multiple interactions with individuals as we build the trust to have them agree to go and get services. But typically, once we connect them to the services, we do not have further contact.
Thank you so much. My next question is for either Chief Sullivan or Chief Warrender. I want to echo my comments regarding I think we're making great strides towards the reforms that have been requested, recommended as well from the council. For those that are concerned that we have been changing our policy and requiring training, how do we ensure that the policy changes and the actual training, how do we evidence that into change behaviors in the area that we are looking to effectuate change, and what are the measures that we're using to ensure that those behavioral changes are being seen?
So Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, it's a great question. And I think that's something that we have probably lacked in the past, but thanks to Chief Sullivan's guidance and support, some of the areas that we are going to look at, we're going to be doing those audits to make sure that we are complying with the training that we provide. We have to make sure that we are doing what we say and showing that we are doing what we say we're going to do. So there'll be some compliance checks, thanks to council's recommendation and support. We've got the research analysts that will be doing compliance audits on specific areas of the training that we've provided.
Thank you. And then Shannon, I won't want you to feel left out. I do have a question for you as well. When it comes to our Office of Accountability and Transparency, it is one of the steps that many in our community felt was very needed and timely. And I'm grateful to say I see a lot of your staff out at community events spreading the word and getting people to understand that this is an avenue to submit both complaints and commendations. I see that you mentioned you have 138 department investigative cases, administrative cases are currently pending. And I see that you have the civilian review board set in place. I presume there will be continual training to those individuals to ensure that they keep abreast. Can you tell me more about the continuing training opportunities?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, yes, there will be ongoing training. So in addition to the foundational training we provided, which were also recorded, so if members missed or we have new members to the board, we'll be able to have them undergo those trainings. There will be ongoing training for case-specific issues or anytime the board has questions about a particular thing that comes up. As I know council is certainly aware, particularly in this area, we have lots of acronyms. We have lots of ideas, there are lots of concepts. Almost every single case that we review is factually different in some regard. And so as we continue to go through, one of the things we've talked about, for example, is a canine case. If there's an issue where there's a canine deployment or an incident with a canine deployment, in advance of them reviewing the documentation for that, we would have a presentation about the Tactical Support Bureau and how they deploy canines, what the policies and procedures are around that. So there will be both case-specific as well as general training to enhance them. They also will be able, and the department has made it available for them to attend trainings at the academy. So we have some folks that have already signed up to attend the ABLE training, which is the active bystandership in law enforcement. They'll be able to attend ICAT trainings or other trainings the department has. We think those are really critical. All of our review team will attend those trainings as well. We've also had our review team go through the force science training that Chief Warrender discussed. And we will make all of those same things available to the civilian review board so that they also understand, as our review team does, how this department and how these particular officers are trained about the PSB training. Our team is also attending the PSB training and the foundational training that's happening in May. We'll also be taking seats at the training that's happening in June, and we'll make those available to the civilian review board as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for an excellent presentation. Thank you for the diligence and the dedication to moving these recommendations forward and for the benefit of the citizens of Phoenix. Thank you, Mayor. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Councilman Galindo Alvira.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for your very comprehensive presentation. It was lengthy, but it deserved to be lengthy because there was a lot that we requested, and I'm glad to see a lot of it was accomplished. One of my concerns, one of my issues has been behavioral health and mental health services, and specifically on slide 28 on the behavioral health unit response breakdown, I think that's really a moment to celebrate. When you look at 376 responses, or 76%, are being done by this unit, that's great. Because I agree with my colleague Keisha Hodge Washington that police perhaps are not the best to deliver behavioral health services, but when we have dedicated professionals doing it, and we know that the numbers are showing it, and I'm sure they're going to increase, that's something to celebrate and to continue. So thank you for the work that's being done on that and for meeting the goal that had been set out. And on regarding slide 48 on the crisis intervention officers, I am very happy to see the training is being taken seriously. I had a chance early on to meet with one of the unit, one of the squads, and their work specifically as it relates to calls dealing with suicide is phenomenal. And the level of professionalism and care that they take really lifts me, again, because behavioral health is being done by the right individuals so that we can have a better outcome of very bad situations. I want to get to slide 58 regarding the Discipline Review Board. I'm very pleased to see that that will be handled and that we are going to have another civilian participating on this review board. That was one of the items that I specifically asked to be included, and I appreciate the fact that you did respond and that it is being taken care of. And then on slide 65 regarding First Amendment policy, I have a question. Either Chief Orender or Chief Sullivan to respond, dealing with, now that we've seen that there have been numerous marches and protests, how has this policy worked out? Did it meet the needs that you thought it would when it was being written, and now that it's being implemented? Can you speak to that?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Galindo Avila, it has been very successful, in my opinion. We haven't seen any major arrests or any mass arrests, I would say. We've been very fortunate in that our folks are doing exactly what we asked them to do, is we want to engage with these folks that want to go out and exercise their First Amendment rights. So as you know, our policy is to always engage with them first and let them know this is what you can do. We will help you. We want to protect your First Amendment rights. But from what I've seen so far, now this policy was going to be coming out next month, but what I've seen so far from the training that we've provided has been very successful.
There was a recent event down at the state capitol involving close to 4,000 individuals who then left there and marched down Jefferson. No arrests, and I know that beforehand, many of the organizers met with Phoenix PD to ensure the security of individuals and that everyone followed the planned outcome of that march. So I'm really pleased to see that you all are taking this seriously, because we want to ensure that people can exercise their First Amendment right in Phoenix and still it be peaceful and have their point come across, because after all, we're still a democracy right now.
Councilwoman Pastor.
I just have a question on that one slide.
The First Amendment slide?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be another march that is being organized, and it's May Day. So I'm not sure if the organizers, I'm part of it, but my question is really, I guess my question is, what is the process?
So Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, we would love to have a conversation with the organizer.
Okay.
But our process is that our Community Engagement Bureau personnel will engage with that organizer, kind of explain to them and help them go out and exercise their First Amendment rights in a safe manner. We just want everybody to be safe. We want to protect what they're out there to do. So our Community Engagement Bureau folks would like to contact the organizer. We'll have a conversation with them and make sure that they have a peaceful event. I think that's the end goal for us and the end goal for the organizers as well.
Okay, then I'll pull that meeting rapidly together. Thank you.
Councilman Waring.
Thank you. If I don't mind, I'll pivot back to Rachel. On page 7, slide 14, I recognize this is just a subset of the work that you do, but it talks about 1,485 people served. We've talked about this issue before. It's fantastic to count like how many people are coming through the facility or in the facility, but obviously the goal is not to have them come back, to have them have jobs and houses that aren't temporary housing built by the city. In a different venue earlier, you had talked about, not here, you had talked about how when the heat rises, there's a lot more interest in services, which makes perfect sense, of course, but also that's sort of seems temporary. If it's just driven by the heat, that kind of implies when it gets cool, people are going to go back to living the lifestyle that's frankly not good for them and problematic for the rest of us. So are we doing anything to track, like it's not just success to say 1,485 people, and I'm not saying you're necessarily claiming that with the slide, like how many of these people or any of the folks that you serve go on to flourish, go on to have a job? Do we have any way of knowing that?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Waring, yes, we absolutely track in each one of our projects through our homeless management information system, the people who are still there, who have exited, and then we are able to track their returns to homelessness or non-returns to homelessness for years after they've left.
So, Mayor, Rachel, so as a percentage of people you serve, like I guess from what you just said, you have a number, a percent of success stories?
Mayor, members of council, so yes, on a project-by-project basis, I could get that for you. I don't have one overall, though, today with me, no.
I'm so disappointed in you, Rachel. I was expecting you to have that committed to memory. But if you could have that for future, like I think that's something, we're investing a dump truck full of money in this, rightfully so, assuming that we're getting results. And the public, I know interest groups have asked, like, you're spending a lot of money on this, guys. Like, what are we getting out of this? So that's a number that I would think would be front and center in any, frankly, discussion of what we're doing here. So I would like to see those numbers. If you haven't broken them down by project, that's fantastic. And then an overall number, people served, and this is what we're saying. Do you have a ballpark of, is it 20%, 30%? Any general idea?
Mayor, members of the council, I've been told by our city manager not to do public math, so I'd like to get back to you on those percentages.
He does it.
But Rachel, it's entertaining for the rest of us. You don't understand. That's half the fun.
I will say all of our
Watching
projects.
you sweat. You're like, oh, I don't know. Where's my calculator?
Councilman Waring, so projects from the effort that we had outside the campus, we've been tracking sort of where those people are, who we placed in shelter and other services. So we know exactly how many are now housed, how many are still in shelter, how many have returned to homelessness, and then some that are no longer in the homeless management information system. We also have that same information for, say, our Washington shelter, and then some of our newer projects, the information isn't as good. Obviously, the Phoenix Navigation Center just opened last July, but we are able to track all of that information, so I'm happy to share it with you.
Okay. Maybe, I don't want to overstep. Kevin Robinson, he's dictatorial. He rules with an iron fist in public safety, but perhaps we could get that information at a future public safety committee meeting, because I assume we're not doing this, next month too, so. But that might be an appropriate venue. If you could, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
I won't do public math either, but we can get that done.
Thank you.
Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Mayor, before we move on to public comment, I do want to take the opportunity as a point of privilege to welcome Councilwoman-elect Ana Hernandez and wish her the best of luck. And I know that she will do well to represent the fine families and hardworking men and women of District 7. So, bienvenida. Mucha felicidad.
Thank you. We will now go to public comment. Angel.
Hello, good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Dr. Angel Algarin, and I'm a public health researcher, a resident of District 4, and a proud active player in the Phoenix Out Loud Sports Kickball League. I'm here today to speak on Agenda Item 1 and to acknowledge the meaningful work the city has undertaken in advancing public safety reforms, particularly those aimed at improving interactions between law enforcement and the communities they serve. As you can probably tell, I have this all written and prepared, but I've learned a lot today in today's meeting, so really happy to attend. However, I'm also here to share a serious concern about an incident that occurred this past Sunday afternoon. One that highlights an urgent gap in how public safety is implemented across city departments. This incident directly impacted members of the LGBTQ+ community and reflects poorly on our city's values and reputation. During the Out Loud Sports Saguaro Cup tournament at Encanto Park, an event that welcomed over 300 LGBTQ+ athletes and allies from across the country, the final championship game was abruptly shut down due to a clerical permit error. Rather than using discretion or engaging in a conversation, a Parks and Recreation employee escalated the situation by calling the Phoenix Police Department. In response, multiple police cruisers, 8 to be exact, drove onto the field, surrounding peaceful players who were confused, exhausted, and simply trying to finish a moment of community and celebration. This overreaction was damaging. For many of the visiting players, this was their first experience in Phoenix. Instead of seeing our city as an inclusive and welcoming, they witnessed over-policing and an unnecessary escalation. This impacts more than just our sense of safety and belonging. It influences whether Phoenix is chosen for future LGBTQ+ events and it affects the small businesses that benefit from the presence of out-of-town guests. This incident makes it clear, while much has been done to improve policing, we must expand our public safety efforts beyond law enforcement. Departments like Parks and Recreation are often the face of the city in our public spaces, and they must be equipped with the same tools to de-escalate, communicate effectively, and affirm diverse communities, a lot of which I heard today. So I respectfully urge the committee to consider the following.
Could you give us just one final conclusion?
Yes, extend LGBTQ plus cultural humility and de-escalation training to all public-facing city departments, starting with Parks and Recreation. Develop clear conflict resolution protocols to prevent escalation of minor administrative issues such as perceived permit overages to law enforcement, and include LGBTQ plus residents in advisory and planning processes related to public safety, equity, and access.
And Councilwoman Pastor has been spending an enormous amount of time on this.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for bringing this to our attention. I will be meeting with the community on Thursday along with staff at 3 p.m. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additional comments? All right. Lori, did you want to do any concluding comment before we adjourn?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Well said, well said. Well, thank you, super informative. We will be back to the community in a few months to continue updates, but a lot of big milestones. Thank you, we're adjourned.
The Arizona Department of Transportation wants this to be a rewarding and safe experience for all of you. Volunteers like you make this program successful by giving your time and energy to make a positive impact on the environment. Your efforts are appreciated, very much so, not only by ADOT, but also by the citizens of Arizona and the visitors who will enjoy a cleaner state because of your hard work. So spread the word. Arizona, keep it grand.